Hey, it's Friday, September 1st, 2023, 11 a.m. Pacific time, right here on the West Coast. I am Brannon Beliso, and this is Success Never Sleeps, where we, as a collective of small business owners, martial arts school owners, we're just trying to figure out this thing called life to help us discover our version of success, to cultivate an action plan and cultivate the team and all the different steps we need to help fulfill that. So each week I talk about different subjects. I have on special guests and things of that nature. And it's really not to tell you what to do. As I say at the end of every one of my shows or talks, don't listen to me, don't listen to anybody. You got to figure it out for yourself. I don't pay your rent, I don't feed your kids. You got to figure it out. That is the most empowering thing you can do. I believe the challenge with that. Hey, Bob, what's happening? Goals Martial Arts. I believe the challenge with that is that as long as we don't have to be accountable and we can blame somebody for our lack of success, a consultant, the weather, the political situation, we can always do that. What I love and I was greatly attracted to, I posted that in video. When I went to work for a guy named Jerry Nowoski, the first real entrepreneur I worked for. Now, don't make no mistake. My grandma was an entrepreneur with her coffee shops and the Tenderloin. My dad was an entrepreneur with his one martial arts school. But this guy took nothing from 3 employees when I left him to open my own company, this disc jockey company of doing weddings, bar mitzvahs, company parties. He had 40 employees. And I watched this guy buy 3 houses, 20 vans, and just accumulate this wealth. And I thought that was really amazing. And that was appealing to me. So one of the things I always tell people, what's neat about owning your own business is you determine your wealth. You determine how much money you want to make based upon how hard and how smart you're willing to work. So entrepreneurship is something I advocate for. I've been a small business owner now for 30 plus years. Entrepreneurship heavy over the past decade. I invest in startups. I love the stock market. I like REITs. So I diversify. And somebody said to me the other day, it's not about risk tolerance. It's about risk management, managing your risk in the different arenas that you're in. Because with great risk comes great reward. And sometimes the greater the risk, the greater the reward could be. But sometimes that can be a challenge. So should I do an online banking account at 4.25%, and get something versus nothing? Sure. Put it in a CD or a bond or something? Sure. You can do that. But when I'm witnessing what I'm experiencing in the stock market today and the amount of money that I'm able to generate working with Sam on, it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. So as you come aboard, say hi. Tell me that you're here. Who are you? I see we got Bob Poole. As you come aboard, put in your name, put in where you're tuning in from and the name of your school. I would greatly appreciate that. I love giving people shout outs every time they come aboard. So let's thank our sponsors. We have our sponsors as always. I want to say thank you to Sa, Market Muscles. The Kids Love Life Skills. Thank you, Marco. My Studio and LC Accounting. Sa just signed another deal with the Olympics, and they'll be providing uniforms and equipment for the Olympians in the next Olympic Games. And that's pretty powerful to be aligned with them. They have a great martial arts line, sparring gear line. And that relationship has been cultivated since the 90s when my dad was one of their clients. And today, that relationship still goes on. And I'm very blessed to influence them and have them as a sponsor. Market Muscle, Stephen Reinstein and the gang. I can't say enough. The combination of Market Muscles working with Dojo Launch, who we're going to rebrand to Kin shortly, working with My Studio as a CRM system, working with LC Accounting. Everybody you see here are elements of my school and my businesses, right? So LC Accounting handles all my bookkeeping, helps me make financial decisions on expenditures, etc. Kids Love Life Skills is the driving force for character development in our schools. My Studio, it is a CRM system that we use across the board. Market Muscles is our websites. And of course, Tucson, we use a lot of their uniforms and equipment. So I don't say this simply as them being my sponsors. I say this as a client and partner actually using their services. You need them. Cool? So what do we have coming up? It's Time Live Balance. Tickets are starting to go. It's a pretty easy gig. It's only 20 people for 4 days. 4 days. Did I say that? 4 days. only 20 people, but you have to decide that you're worth that investment, because it's not $99, right? And bring the team for free. It is an investment, but you are your best investment. So I've assembled a stellar team. On Saturday, you watch classes with me, real-time narration of how we do what we do, so you can experience what it takes to generate over $2 million in two small locations. We also have Dave Kovar on the afternoon that Saturday in a 4-hour instructor boot camp. None better. And what he does for people all over the world is impactful. New addition, Terry Lee. I put her front and center in this little post here because Terry Lee is a woman pioneer in the martial arts. When she opened her school in 1988, she was one of the first women to um, open a martial arts school successfully at the time where people were telling you need to tell your wife to be quiet. When she told me that story, I went, oh no, right? And here she is today with 800 students. But I think what really stands out for me when it comes to that, you got to realize she's done this decade after decade after decade after decade. So for all the women in attendance, she can help build that legacy business. For everybody in attendance, her wisdom and knowledge, that shows me sustainability. And I'm really after that in a world where people come and go. They come in really fast into our industry and then they're gone tomorrow. For me, I'm really looking at legacy businesses as an earmark of great systems, great culture, great team building, right? The whole 9 yards, a great company, period. So Terry Lee will be there. Sam On will be on Monday, strictly for virtual. People have been asking, well, how do I get Sam on? We do not record Sam. He doesn't permit that, but you will be able to come in and watch virtually if that's all you want to do is catch Sam. We'll figure that out. We're working on that now, and we'll post that shortly. Adam Lodi. This young man has just continued to amaze me and amaze me and amaze me. In a short period of time, I've worked with him in my wisdom program, my executive mentoring program, and the growth of their company in 4 short months to double their revenue is phenomenal. But more importantly is the story of them creating this creative company, this digital media company, because their parents' business was just dying in the pandemic, and to revive it to the point where now I think they have 2 locations and they're thinking of opening a third. That's powerful in 3 short years. And so he'll be there to talk about digital media and Facebook ads and things of that nature. Then, of course, yours truly, third generation small business owner, been doing this a long, long, long time. I've led the way through the pandemic. I've pivoted through the .com, 9/11, mortgage crisis, pandemics, and to create a sustainable growth-oriented business that I believe does better on average than most martial arts schools is why I sing this song for you. You, the small business owner, are my heart and soul. You, the martial arts school owner, I have an even deeper passion for, and I want to see you be successful, right? We're made up predominantly of mom and pops. Make no mistake. There's not a lot of franchises in our industry. Look at the food industry. There's big franchises, right? But the small mom and pop, which America was built on, I still romanticize, I still stand by, and who I advocate for. So you need to be It's Time Life Balance. Only 20 of you will realize you are worth that investment and will be there for the 4 days. 50 or 60 for the 2-day experience or the 1 day. But that 4-day, I think, is really makes a huge, huge difference. Karth, what's happening, Karth? My studio rocks. Excellent customer service. Thank you, Karth. I love them too. I love them too. Can't make it out to California, but I'm in for the virtual day. Absolutely. It's there. If you want to sign up for that, Marco will put the link for the 4-day, the 2 days, and the 1 day. All of them are there. You're going to be live on that Sunday, which I really love because, the fact that you can sit there with us and hang out with us, break bread with us virtually, ask questions. I love talking to people all the way in Canada and the UK and Germany. And when they join us live, it just adds a real magic to the event. So those of you who are going to tune in virtually, I really, really hope that you make it a point to sit with us live and not simply watch it afterwards, because there's magic that happens in real time. And when they go back and edit it and they take out the fodder and all those different things, I think it's really important. Here's my son, the entrepreneur. Mosaic came out. It's still on Panini for $3.34. Okay. I started a card company for my son several years ago, and we know that memorabilia in the sports world is worth a lot of money. I think there's a Michael Jordan card worth $1.6 million. That's insane, but it is what it is. And so him and I actively buy cards and trade and do different things. And at 14, almost 15, I love that I'm already creating that entrepreneurial spirit in that boy's soul. So, Marco, I'm going to get things started. Today, we're talking about financial strategies, right? And Marco's working on getting Roy aboard. You know, we grew up in a world where financial strategy is either like totally foreign to you, or you fly by the seat of your pants because you watch a couple of videos and see some things at Reddit, and you download the Robinhood app and you think you're Wall Street. And it's totally not that. I believe for me, what's really made a huge difference is the education. I study a lot of different things, right? And Sam would say, don't listen to a lot of those commercial gurus on the because they're paid to say certain things. I understand that too, but I love studying everything from Yahoo Finance to Warren Buffett, to Vanguard funds to Fidelity to Schwab. I'm always looking at things and gathering data. But when the day's done, I have to ask myself, what are my financial goals? That's it. What are my financial goals? And once I'm clear on that, then I can go about seeking out the information. And that's taking into consideration everything. Does your wife work? Does she have a pension? Are you on her medical while you run this small business? Are you going to inherit money from your parents or your grandparents? What's the whole landscape of that to determine that? And I'll bring on Roy in a minute. But I think because it's so overwhelming and daunting for everybody, you just turn a blind eye to it. And I don't recommend that. And we can all say, and you can put it, I want people to take ownership of this. Do you have at least one instructor, great instructor that you studied with that's probably broke today, living on Medicare and Social Security? Put it in the comments. How many martial artists do you know that died broke? Put it in there. And as you come aboard, say hi. I see Facebook user. That's got to be Bob. But if you're here, say hi and put in the comments. Do you know at least one person that you know that's died broke? There's a rule of thumb, 40, 40, 40. I work 40 hours a week for 40 years to end up with 40% of my income. So think about the income you generate today. Can you live on 40% of that? Especially with mounting medical bills and things of that nature. Don't think that when you retire, the company you work for is going to cover your medical forever. They're not. They're not going to cover your medical forever. There will be a cutoff point, and then you're in the Medicare system, and you better have some type of supplement on that. I'm already looking that at my age because I don't know what age that is, 65 or 69, somewhere in there. I am forced to go into the Medicare system, and then I'm going to bounce back into Kaiser because there's no way Medicare is going to take care of me as I get older. To do it right, you need some type of supplement insurance. And I'd rather stay with Kaiser and pay the difference because the premium is going to change once it's filtered through, the Medicare system and what their price point is. Why? Because they're a freaking broker. And if you're not going to use their jack Medicare system, which I don't like, that's me, I'm going to have to pay them a commission to buy my Kaiser back. So we already guesstimated my Kaiser now is going to go up by freaking 15, 20% because there's a middleman now. Right now, I go directly to Kaiser. But once that happens, then everything changes with that. So lots to talk about. So let's bring him on. Roy's a good friend of mine. I've known Roy since high school. We worked together in a DJ company. We sat there and played football together. So we've done a lot of different things. And through the years, Roy's been a pilot. Roy's been a lot of things. Marco, Royce can't hear. Roy, that's got to be on your end, sir. So take a look at what's going on there because everybody can hear me fine. Yeah. Roy, if you can't hear me, it's on your end. Yeah. See, Roy can't hear me. Marco, can you sort that out, please? And so, in Roy's journeys, he's got into financial advising. And one of the first things I said to Roy, my challenge with that, and when he comes on, I'll reiterate it twice, is you got people selling you stuff, right? that may or may not know what they're doing. Roy, I got you. Marco, can you text him? He keeps pointing to his ear and waving, and we know the challenge has got to be on his end. Everybody here at Facebook, can you guys hear me okay? Put it in the comments for me, Karth. We are chatting. Thank you, Marco. Put it in the comments if you guys can hear me, just to make sure it's not me. Karth, you got me? Bob, you got me? Put it in there for me, you guys, please. Cool. Let me know, Karth. Let me know, everyone. You can hear me. Marco, can you hear me fine? The joys of technology. Yeah, thank you, Marco. I appreciate you, sir. And so, with that said, for me, the whole landscape became a very overwhelming. Thank you, Karth. It became a very overwhelming thing, right? Marco, can you tell Roy you're chatting because he keeps pointing at his ear and waving that he can't hear? So, sort that out on his end. And so, it was so confusing for me, extremely confusing, because I had different salespeople coming at me, right? Thank you, Marco. I had all these different salespeople coming after me. And they'd have these nice little folders with these stock photos and talking about, what happens if you die tomorrow, where your loved one's going to be. And it was just kind of this really scripted sales fest. And it was always a huge turnoff because it never really educated me. More than anything, it just made me feel more inadequate, right? Because they come with some slick sales plan. The goal was at the end of the, meeting to have me sign something because they get a commission and then they're on to the next person. And so I found that very disingenuine. Is that the right word? Disingenuine. And it just didn't feel right. So I went out on my own and I started studying things. And the first thing I got into was Morgan Stanley. And I think the thing with Morgan Stanley was I recognized from what I've learned is that they would sell me products that they make a commission on, right? They have the meeting on Monday. They sit in the roundtable discussion and the higher ups say, hey, this is what we're selling. This is the commission we get. But it was never equated. Is this a good product for me? Does this fit my vision of retirement, my vision of success? Does this fit what I want to do? Now, the reason I say this so passionately because most people work a 9 to 5 and they pay into a retirement. They have no idea what their company's doing with that money. They have no idea what stocks they're buying. They have no idea, where the dividends go, if it's being reinvested, none of it. They just blindly put money into the retirement, thinking when they retire, they're going to have all this money. And in some cases, you get lucky. But on average, anywhere from 3 to maybe 8% on a good day. Well, I don't feel, for me, I simply wanted to give anybody my money. Now, being a small business owner, I was never subjected to that. But I can't tell you how many people are transitioning from, hey, Herman, are transitioning from, I'm going to say worker bee, working for a company that simply does what they do, right, with your money in the retirement plan that you pay into, to being a person that has to make those real decisions on their own. And I understand how that can be overwhelming. So I went with Morgan Stanley and I didn't really pay attention to my money. And my money just kind of sat there and didn't do what I wanted to do. I am in a show helping my son make money. And so it didn't really do what I wanted it to do. So I had to really think about that. What is it that my most immediate needs were? And at the time, as I was moving away from Morgan Stanley and my company was starting to get some legs, I recognized at the time it was a personality driven business. So it was dependent upon me and solely me. And when I thought about it, if I got sick or hurt and couldn't work another day in my life, where would that leave my family? Right? Where would that leave my family? So for me, it was really important that I developed a strategy that worked for me. Let me see if we can get Roy in and we'll continue the conversation.
Hello, Brannon. How are you?
What's happening, Roy?
Good afternoon. Now I can hear you. A little technical difficulty, but thank you, Marco. I love to have Marco on my team. I tell you, got a great guy there. His troubleshooting, great stuff.
Yeah,
Thank
Marco's
you.
great at what he does. So, where we're at in the conversation is, I was at that point in my business when I started to make a lot of money and I recognized it was a personality driven business. So, if I got sick or hurt, where would that leave my family? So, I chose to go with a term life insurance policy. It seemed pretty simple, it was very minimal money. And I knew that if I died, my family would get $1 million. That was pretty cut and dry. Kind of like my medical insurance. I know that's the other thing I didn't skimp on. I got good medical insurance with the strategy that if I got sick or hurt and couldn't work, I knew that my deductible was minimal. Like a hospital stay is $100 a day. That's unheard of, right? So at that time, it worked really, really well. So, what are your feelings, Roy, about term life insurance? Because that's, I think, the biggest one every school owner should look at right now. Because if you die tomorrow, unless everything's set up strategically, that business can run without you. Your family could be stuck with your bills, your debt, and a failing business overnight.
Yeah, Brandon. That's a a very good point. Unfortunately, with a lot of the programs that are available out there, the misconception of you have whole life universal, index universal, and all those plans have a savings plan in it that they tell you do, but they're overpriced, you're underinsured, and there's some pretty rude awakenings that you'll see on your policy that most people don't read. But buying term, you're able to get more for your value, right? And I can kind of go over a little bit of how all of them work, but I don't know, time
No, that's
permits.
not necessary. I mean, I think you and I agree. If you're going to get life insurance, that term makes the most sense. You get the most bang for your buck. It's a pretty, straight transaction, right? The challenge people feel, though, is that at the end of that term, you're just out of that money, right?
Yeah,
You just all that money you put in. But I think what it gave me was peace of mind. Today, I wish it would term out because I don't want to spend any more money on it. I have enough wealth to take care of my bills and everything else if I die tomorrow, and the business is run without me. But at the time when it was a personality driven business, it was solely dependent upon me. And I wanted to take care of my family if something happened. You agree, term made the most sense, right?
yeah, exactly. One thing we do, and I like to educate my clients, is we do a thing called buy term and invest the difference. And what that does is, through the earlier years, like yourself, you had your children young and you had a lot of increasing responsibility with the business and so forth. Then, you buy term and then invest some money into a fund. So in those 20 years or so, 25 years, you have this policy. Now you have decreasing responsibility, right? Your children are grown, gone to college, right? And so forth. And now you have cash in that. So that way you no longer need the insurance, you become self insured. So
Yeah,
term is a
so
great
the
way.
fund you're talking about a Roth? Are you talking
Yes.
about a SEP? Okay. So, I mean, yeah, because I would never put money blindly into a bank with almost zero
No.
interest. We know an online checking account will yield us 4.25. I think SoFi today was almost like 5% for an online checking account. There's
Mhm.
CDs, there's mutual funds. So in that sea
Yeah.
of all that, do you believe the minimal they should start with is something like a Roth IRA?
Exactly. Why? Because your tax deferred dollars later on in the later years, correct? You don't want to be paying a lot of taxes when you're ready to retire. And that's one of the misconceptions about 401ks, right? It's all pre tax dollars. And so you pay no taxes. And all the gains that you get through the years, when you reach that magical age to pull that money out, guess what? You're going to pay 40% on taxes and all the capital gains.
Right,
So
right, but
the
there's
Roth
definitely
is
no
after tax.
there's no penalty for early withdrawal because you've
Exactly.
termed out, right? You're retired. Isn't that also based upon how much money you're making? If I'm no longer in the 40% tax bracket, let's say
Mhm.
I've scaled back and I'm in the 28% tax bracket, do I still pay 40%
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the
exactly.
money I pull out?
Yeah, because you've never paid any taxes at all, even your capital gain.
Right.
So it's very important to see, where you fall. So Always a Roth is perfect, just like you mentioned. It's after tax dollars, meaning you already paid taxes on it,
Yep.
and now you're putting it into the plan. And then when you're able to take that money out, you're not paying taxes on that money. So it's a really smart move to do that.
Right, but what we can max that out, what, 6,500 a year?
Exactly. And
You
if
can
you're
only
over,
have one Roth, right? You can't have multiple Roths.
yeah, you could do one. But if you're over age 50, the government allows you to add an additional $1,000.
Right. Correct.
So just a catch up program, they call that.
Right.
And
So
so
7,500 instead of 65.
exactly,
Correct.
exactly.
And so let's say I'm starting that out. I'm a young kid in my 20s. If I put away 6,500 a year, how many years does it take to be a millionaire?
Wow. You can do it as quickly as 25, 30 years in the
That's
system.
$6,500 a year?
Yeah, with compounding interest, the way it works, pending obviously too the way the markets are fluctuating and moving. But you will definitely, it'll multiply pretty fast.
Okay.
Definitely, it's kind of hard to kind of assumption and write that, but if you have the plan, you can see that
So at the
it'll
minimum,
multiply
folks,
fast.
if you're putting away $6,500 a year into a Roth IRA, can you
Mhm.
afford that? I think so. Divide 65 by 12. What's that? 500 bucks
Five
a month.
hundred something
Yeah,
dollars,
500
correct?
something dollars a month. Cut
Yeah.
out Starbucks, cut out a few things, cut out a few
Yep.
restaurants. I'm sure if you went through all of your expenses right now, you'd find out between eating out, Starbucks, and all these trivial things, some of your subscriptions. Do you need Netflix, Disney Plus, and HBO? Do you really need that? Think about that, right? If you can manage to $550 in 25 years, $550 a month, 6,500 a year, you will potentially be a millionaire. Now, for me, that number is skewed because you have to decide what is your retirement number, right?
Mm.
How much money do you need to live on? I'm going to travel a lot. I like living well. So I have a different number than the average person. But Roy, what do you think is the minimum number somebody needs to retire on when they're 70? Let's have, and they're not living extravagantly, right? Maybe their home is paid off, so all they're going to amount is higher medical bills as they get older, correct? Because
Sure.
they're going to get more sick.
At least a million, right? I mean, obviously, lifestyle, like you had mentioned, traveling and so forth, but at least a million. So in that account, you drive, you withdraw 5%, and just to say you're living off 50,000, just a hypothetical number here. I mean, obviously, some people need more than others, but at least a million. At least draw 5%, 0.5%, and you'll take at least 50 out, and the money will still keep growing for
Yeah,
you, which is
yeah.
very powerful.
I mean, how much do you need at that point? I mean, if you're not living in San Francisco and you go live somewhere inexpensive, think
Sure.
about that. My right now I looked at if I start taking Social Security when I'm 70, it's going to be $4,100. That
Hmm.
that's nothing to laugh about. That's decent for Social Security, right?
Sure.
$4,100 per month plus. So let's say hypothetically that 50,000 a year divided by 12. I mean, you just can't live beyond your means. But I don't want to be one of these old people who are eating dog food, living in a trailer park, right? I mean, I think that's everybody's fear. So I think that they're just not sure, Roy. What is it they need now, and what is it they need for their future when they're retired?
Yeah, great, good point. Obviously, you need to find out your financial independence number, right? And find out, your lifestyle. Everyone's different, correct? And so, in order to find that, you need to really evaluate where you're at now and what your goals are for later on, right? Maybe your children still are in university or, paying off homes or whatever not. But finding out that number is very important so you have a game plan, to obtain that later on, right? But every person's different. And, we can do some fin numbers, we call it, to help a few people out. Not a problem. We're glad to do that for somebody.
A
If
fin
anybody,
number?
yeah, well, financial independence number. That's what,
Ah, fin.
right?
Okay.
Fin. Right? And so, if anybody would like to, I can love to do some numbers for you, help you out for free. Not a problem, and at least give you an idea of what you're looking at, right? What to obtain to get there.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me is in my education process was really being able to look at money and understand how to make money work for me beyond. See, the thing I never worked for somebody other than Jerry, right? Back in the Music Master days. I've always worked for myself. So I get it. If you're conditioned decade after decade of blindly putting money into retirement that they tell you they offer. You have no idea where they're investing it, what they're doing with it, or what you're truly yielding, right? Other than a financial checkup every so many years, and the guy who works for the company you work for is going, everything's great, right? And then you
Yeah.
wake up one day 40 years later and realize all that money you put in is not all that money you put in, right? Because the market does fluctuate, it does change. How does somebody get that financial literacy? How do they go from working for somebody blindly trusting or being held prisoner to the 401k that they can only invest in through the company to where we are? We're small business owners, Roy. We're martial arts school owners. How do we
Mhm.
know where to begin and what to do?
Great. That's a great question. I mean, the best way to do it for those who are starting off, maybe you want to get with an advisor or somebody, but too bad we couldn't get on this because of technical difficulties here. But I had a really nice slide and I'll just kind of explain it. It's an investment profile questionnaire that we use. And essentially, what that does, it's a model portfolio match. So, just really quick, for example, I'd ask somebody, what is your goal for your investment? When do you plan on taking money out? And so, and then, how comfortable do you feel accepting risk? And while you answering those questions, I can tell if you're whether in an income fund or a conservative growth, moderate growth, or aggressive fund. And by doing that suitability question, it allows us to say, for example, if you were an aggressive fund, then you'd be in 100% stocks. If you were just in a growth fund, 15% of bonds and cash, the other 85% would be in stocks. Moderate growth would be 35%, 65. And then conservative would be 50% bonds and cash and 50% stocks. So that allows us to tell you where you want to go based on your personal needs, right? And your preferences. Now, one thing that I would love to stress to everyone here that regardless where you're going to invest or with whom you're going to invest, one of the most important things I always educate my clients is get a prospectus. And a prospectus, like you just touched on that point. A prospectus is telling you where that person's going to put your money, where it's going to be allocated, right? So, like for example, I pulled up this Invesco Equity and Income Fund, and it tells how much money is going, how much money they have, where it's going to, where it's being invested in commodities, technology, where it's going. So then you have an understanding of where that money's going to go and how that'll play out for you, right? Because most advisors will just tell you, hey, yeah, we'll put it in here, right? And like you just mentioned, then you have no idea and try to get a tune up every 5 years or so. But if you understand it before you go into the game, then you'll really realize, okay, wow, I'm putting in this corporation, this company, this fund, mutual funds, for example, and what it's how it's grown through the years, like since inception, 5, 10 years, and you get to see the percentages of what it's paying out, and then you can read about it. So a perspective is very good for anyone entering into the market to understand where their money's going, right? And how it's going to work for them, right? And what big corporations are in these funds. Now, one thing I really like to iterate is also that in mutual funds, for example, and most 401ks, they offer, the company offers benefits, so forth, and they're common stock shares or Class C shares, right? With mutual funds, you can get Class A shares. And so what the difference in between those is obviously the Class A shares and 401ks, the executives get those and the employee gets a common stock share. So when the market goes up relatively high, 200-300 points in a common stock share, it's gradually going to grow, right? But in a Class A mutual fund, that share will grow a lot faster. So just understanding that will help you out, but get a prospectus, like I said, and no matter where you're going to invest, where you're putting that money, whatever financial institution you do, get a prospectus and understand that. And so that way you can make a good decision. Otherwise, you're leaving at someone's beck and call to make that investment for you.
Yeah, and I think we're almost conditioned to do that.
Right?
It's much like a bank. You put your money in a bank and they're going to charge you an annual fee of 150
Mhm.
bucks or whatever. They're going to take your money and loan it out. And what is today's interest rates? 8%, something crazy, right? For
Yeah.
mortgages and stuff like that. So, know that. know that when you go into this, I think financial literacy is really the key. And the more you read, the more you educate yourself, the more you can sit at a table with somebody like Roy or anybody and be able to come with an intelligent conversation that you know is going to serve your best interests. I think when we leave it strictly at the mercy of the expert, you put yourself in a very bad position. And I was there at one point. I just went with some guy blindly at Morgan Stanley. I had no idea what he was investing my money in or anything, but I thought it was cool, right? At least I'm doing something for my retirement. And then as I began to dig deeper and look at it, I went, wow, I wouldn't buy any of this stuff. None of it. But I do understand, and you can correct me on this, Roy. It's not uncommon for there to be a Monday meeting at Morgan Stanley or Schwab where they go, hey, we have this fund. This is the one we're pushing. This is the one we get commission on, right?
Yes.
So whether it's going to serve you well or not, it's the one they're pushing. Because if they push that, then they make their commission. If they push that, it's now a fund people are looking at. And there's a lot of funds. Do you remember the Janus fund?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where is it today?
Exactly. And so again, I'd love to share this suitability questionnaire, and it'd be good for the person who wants to learn to invest where they fall into the big picture, right? Like how much time do you have, right? There's a lot of um, things involved, but like how comfortable you feel about losing and so forth. But this questionnaire thing will help you, and it'll just let you know where personally where you feel, how comfortable you feel about investing and so forth. And then you get to see by your question that you answered where that funds should go, right? Aggressive, growth, moderate, conservative, and income. So when you do decide to go to that financial institution to invest, you have an idea of, hey, I feel comfortable here. And I don't you think it tells me that I should put money here, here, and here? And can you explain those funds to me where you're going to allocate the money, right? Do you have a prospectus for those? And then that guy's going to sit there and go, wow, this person understands a little bit of it, not just get you in any type of fund like you just mentioned that they want to make money on and push it, right? So, I'll be glad to share this for you, and just gives you that little extra knowledge. And, so you're going there and you understand it, right? Not like going to a car dealer where they're trying to, turn the numbers on you around and all that. And so
Well, but
you
I mean, even that's changed because they do. A lot of, people in your industry get thrown in with car salesmen, right? That type of mentality, that attitude, because like real estate, everybody thinks it's going to be a quick buck. So let me ask you a more personal question. What made you decide to get into that industry, the one you're in?
wow, great question. A little bit about myself. I worked for the airlines for 35 years,
Yep.
and as I did that, they always offer the benefits and so forth, right? And medical, dental, and all this stuff, retirement accounts. And so I really started paying attention to what was being offered to me, and I really mastered it, and understood it. And then I started helping people because they go, Roy, what do you recommend? Everyone's talking, right? What do you think is a better coverage and this and that? So I really dove into it, and I started learning all of it, and I started helping people, and I started realizing that I made an impact helping people, right? And I guess that's where the servant heart comes in for me. And I started, just before I knew it, I always had people coming to me and asking me, Roy, what do you think? Should we go here? Should I do this? This is my family situation. So, I started doing numbers with them and say, what's feasible for you, and this and that. And, how do you just should think about this, consider that. And before you know it, Brian, I said, God, this is my calling. And so I started, to really get my licensings done and all that. And then finally got into the business. And, I got the gratification of serving, just like yourself, right? You give to the community and give people. And this is one of the, I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to, to pass on this information, because, I get it for, the martial arts owners, you guys wear a lot of hats, right? And you're doing a lot of things. But if you're able to get, free education and you understand it a little bit better, why not? And this is one of the reasons, we talked about this and doing this. But overall, it's about helping people, and I tell you, there's nothing more inspiring to me when I left. Some family comes to my office, and I look at their young child and go, wow, you got a college education. We just did something for you, right? Or we're properly protecting you the right way, not just these whole life policies, universal, and all these gimmick policies that at the end, you know, um, it's just foobar, right? It's just, I don't, it's just crap. And people find out the hard way, right? Or they think they got coverage through their significant other in a job, right? Oh, my spouse, she has a job and I'm under her benefits. And the $1 million question I always tell my clients is, well, God forbid something were to happen to you. How long is that employer going to keep you on payroll?
They're
Why
not.
not?
Not.
2 months? 2 months of that, and next thing you know, you have no coverage, you have no life, or you retire with that company for a long time, and then you're out. Like me, I retired with my company. Guess what? 35 years, there's no benefits, there's nothing. It's out the door, right? You're on your own. So it's very important to get the right coverage to protect your business that you were just referring to and your family, right? But get the right type of coverage. I'm glad to help you out with some free information, and educate you on the right policies. Again, whole life, universal, index, they're way overpriced and you're underinsured. And there's so many clauses in these policies that I know I don't want to take too much time, but I'd love to sit down and break things down for people to see it on a like a 101 type basis and understand it. Because there's a lot of nasty clauses in those policies.
Well, yeah, because insurance companies are not in business to lose money. They're not. So, I mean, I think about my medical. We pay a lot for medical, but it's for peace of mind. I'm
Yeah,
self-employed, right? And
sure.
if I never have to use it, they're happy. And if I use it, it's not going to be there forever. I will eventually exhaust it all. And you
Mhm.
witness that people get some major illness, and 3/4 the way into their treatment, they're running out of benefits. And you're like,
Yeah,
well, I paid in this thing for 15, 20 years, right? And they're going, well, you know, they're not, insurance companies aren't there to lose money. They're there to make money like any other business. And the big thing I found that isn't the case today is they do capitalize on your fear, right? What if you get sick? What if you can't work? What if you die? Where does that leave your family? So
yeah,
to negotiate that space and be in a position where you're empowered, it is knowledge, it is learning, it is that. But I think it's hard, people shy away from that, Roy, because some guy's got a pen right behind them and a document, and great, you're ready to sign, and you're like, whoa, I barely understood what you just said, right?
yeah,
So I understand that because it's a high pressure sales. And once I saw that, because it was a huge turnoff, but what it empowered me to do was to go out there and gather information. I mean, I would literally sit with guys, and no bump to you, but I would sit with guys and tell them, I'm not going to buy anything today. So
there you go.
if that's your end game today, then it's not a conversation you and I can have. I like to gather information, and then
Great
I
point.
make a decision, right? But I was in a different position. I didn't come into real wealth until my early 40s. And so I
Hmm.
was playing catch up. I had to come at it with a different level of risk, a different level of strategy, right? If I was 18, I would slow and steady, right? Slow and
Yeah,
steady, put it in the right places, do the right things, have a Roth. So going with this question on the side here from Cart, sounds like decrease the contributions in the 401k and max out your Roth each year. You should be doing both. You should have a 401k that you can max out in your business as
hmm,
well as a Roth. You should have both.
exactly.
You should
Very
have.
well. One I wanted to touch back on just what you said. That most agents are like that, right? They're just trying to get a sale and so forth, and then some people just don't understand it. And the protection part, right? So, for example, you have a car, right? You insure your car in case something were to happen to it, right? Right? You insure your home in case of a fire, God forbid something were to happen, right? But most people don't insure their income, which is what you bring home, right? Because without your income, what is your family going to do? The bills keep coming, but no income. So people kind of look at life as at life insurance, and it's like, oh, in case I die, da 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 da. But no, it's income replacement, right? So you need to really understand that. And I always tell my clients, let's put your checkbook away. I'm not here to. I never try to close anything on the first day. I want to educate you. I want to so you understand truly what you're getting into, and I explain all the policies, the difference between them, so they understand, so they can make a good decision for them and their families, right? They can go sit back with the wife and talk, or if they're married or significant other, whatever, and then they can understand it in an educational point. It's just like any industry, right? I hate to say it, like you said, you have good people in the industry, and then you have, not so good people in the industry. And, that's the unfortunate part. But it's,
Yeah, so I think, one of the things Roy's offering everybody here on the call today is a document. And this document, I read through it the other night. It's, a lot of, I probably know 85% of what's in that doc, but it's good sound stuff. I
yeah.
mean, and it's all put together nice and neat. And it would at least, I think, inspire you and give you some aha moments and help create that sense of awareness, right? So how do people get that doc, Roy?
Well, if we can get their email, I'd love to send it to you. It's free, and there's a lot of great helpful information in there. Um, so I don't know. They could send you everyone could send
Yeah,
their
just put
email.
your email in the comments if you're interested in that doc, and
Yeah,
it's
we'll give it
fun.
out for free. I mean, and to anybody, Brandon, your staff, anybody. I think it's just free, and good literature, good financial education information that I love to share with everybody. Right.
Yeah,
My motto is to educate America one person at a time.
yeah. And I read through the doc, and it's good sound stuff, and it's stuff that I don't think the average person knows.
Mm,
With that, so some of my big takeaways: at the minimum, every one of you should have a term life insurance policy. If at my point, I make way too much money, so I don't need a life insurance and policy. I
yeah,
want to have money. I want money that works for me. A term life insurance policy does not work for me. It doesn't make me money. But at the time, it was perfect
mhm,
for where I was, right?
yeah,
Personality driven business, right? I mean, it was just totally dependent upon me being there. So it was a different day. Today, I wouldn't do that. I'm
yeah,
looking more today at developing beyond my own personal medical insurance
hmm,
is a medical fund for myself, right? That extra money. But that will sit in a trading account that's going to make me money anywhere from, good markets, anywhere from 8 to 11%, right?
yeah.
8 to 11%. So
Have you checked out any variable annuities for yourself?
yeah, I'm not into that, man.
Not too crazy.
Yeah, I've looked at it. I've looked at it every which way, and there's
Mhm.
nothing about it that says it's going to make me more money than what I'm doing right now.
Sure, sure.
Right. So I mean, that's really it. I want to maximize and leverage my money. So whether it's the stock market, whether it's the RIT, whether it's we have money in Casco, which does commercial mortgage, for commercial, and we're yielding 8% year in, year out
Awesome.
consistently. Yeah. So I'm looking more for stuff like that at this point because in many ways, Roy, I'm playing catch up.
Yeah,
My number is bigger than most. I need 8 million to retire on.
yeah.
That's my number.
But you
Right.
have the mindset, so that's good. I guess for us here, what we're doing is to try to educate, those who haven't started. It's never too
Yeah.
late to start, right?
It's never too late.
And just get the good, understanding on how things work. I mean,
Mhm.
how do you win the game if you don't understand the rules, right? And so, doing this will allow people to go, wow, I can do that. Yes, you can,
Yeah.
and educate yourself, right? One thing too, I don't know if we touched on it because we were kind of with the technical difficulty here on my end, but like for example, we offered also to help people understand like the retirement plans for their studios, right? Like a
Yeah.
simple something that they may have less than 100 employees, or, for example, and they can offer some retirement, where they could put a nice little percentage, help them out up to 3% if you like. It's good tax write off,
It
and so
is. I mean, we have a basic safe harbor pension
there
program.
you go.
And if you're not a company that people want to work for, you guys, please, I think that's one of the big things, the Achilles heel in our industry. We think it's unheard of to have medical benefits and freaking a 401k and vacation with pay and all of that. We think it's unheard of. We think people should teach for us because they're lucky and they're going to
Mm,
work for free and I'm going to upgrade you into a leadership program and you're going to pay me for it and teach for free. I disagree. The average tenure of our team now is going on 15 years, Roy.
wow.
And that's because we create a company people want to work for. So I think we need to have a huge mindset shift there. So you're right. They should have some safe harbor pension program, 401k, where they're matching up 3% of what their employees. That's smart business. I can't tell people any other way with that. But see, in turn, that allows me and my wife to max out.
There you go. Perfect. Exactly. And we got some information. If they anyone on the listening would love, a brochure on it to understand it, I've sent them to you, but we can definitely forward that so they can understand and get a good basis for it, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And a good approach. And if you want to give them my number, I'd be glad to answer any questions. I
Yeah,
know
just put it in
it
the
gets
comments. Stick it in the comments, Roy.
yeah, it gets in. I know it gets in detail. We're just touching on it lightly, but it does get a little bit more in detail. And I'd love to answer any questions or guide anybody. Not a problem. Love to do that.
Yeah, and if Roy tries to sell you something, I know where he lives, you guys.
Yeah,
I'll go give him shit. Because people are afraid of people like you, Roy. They are, because they feel the pressure sales. And I get it. Some people are uneducated, so all they have is sizzle, right? I mean, they don't have the real knowledge that you're talking about. So what do? Slick brochure, fast talking, sales script, get them in the state of emotion of fear, get them to sign them on to the next one, right?
Yeah.
Because
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but when most those people that feel afraid and not go there, I mean, what's your plan B?
Yep.
Go fund me, right?
Yeah. So it is, but I believe I'm not concerned about the sales guy. I'm concerned about educating myself enough to the point. If I'm talking with somebody like you or anybody else, I understand what's being said to me going into the game, right? If you're not educated enough to sit toe to toe with a lawyer, with an insurance person, even a plumber, when a plumber walks in my house, I know if he's bullshitting me or not.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
know. But see, like you said, we wear a lot of hats. I
Mm-hmm.
believe the success of any small business, is to learn to wear them well.
Good point.
Yeah, the jack of all trades and master of none is a myth. In today's world of information, we can look and understand, with reliable sources out there, what it is we're getting into. So, so I see a couple of people put their emails in there. Cool. And if you want to put your phone number in there, if you can do that, Marco, he's bold enough to want to put his phone number there. Put that there.
Fine. No problem. Not a problem at all. I love to help everyone,
Absolutely.
It's what it's all about. And why not just give the information out? Hopefully they, read it and take to heart, and it'll help change their lives. Right. One thing I firmly believe that you never know what someone will say to change your life.
Yep.
Right. And so I always look upon that. Like, I know I don't have a martial arts studio or a school, but, I love plugging into your stuff because, you talk, I mean, for any business, right? Personally, in the business, what you guys do. And so it's very rewarding. So there's things that there's a lot of nuggets I get from your, these live videos that you're doing. I'm like, wow, I never looked at it that way. And it's amazing that you do. You become a pioneer in this martial arts industry, changing things from the, the 2-3 decades ago, right? How everyone in the martial arts industry does business, right? And you're changing that. And that's very powerful. But what's so amazing too is think about this, Brannon. They still have the same financial concepts from back in those decades, right? How to invest, how to do things, right? They're not changing with what you're strategizing and telling people. So it's very powerful what you do, and I just love it. Again, I wish I had a martial arts studio because I tell you, I'd have the 101 book on how to be successful because you really bring it out there, man. And kudos to you. I've known you a long time. We worked together a lot, and you've always brought it from the heart, and kudos and respect, man. Good stuff. I love it.
Well, I think that's the relationships that matter the most, and it's unfortunate that people look at pioneers and people look at disruptors. They call them outliers. They call them because it makes them pull back their own covers, Roy, and take a look at what's going on. And a lot of people don't like that, man. They don't like that, because as long as they keep you numb and dumb, as I say, if you're numb and dumb, then you're never going to go question things and ask why. They don't want that. They don't want you to question Big Brother. They don't want you to ask why, especially in our industry. Our industry lives from I'm the master, you're the lowly student, right? You're the white belt forever, and I'm the master. So you must. And I think that's very ego based. And as long as we live in that mindset, we'll never do the learning, such as financial learning, that we need to. because I'm a black belt, I know everything. No, you don't. You know nothing about financial strategies, and talking to somebody like Roy would only serve you. So take off the black belt, especially the ego black belt, and allow yourself to learn so you can make educated choices on what is best for you. So thank you, Roy, so much for being here today, man. Again, we'll post it around social media, Roy's contact. We'll get that document up there as well so people can enjoy it and then make a decision what you want to do next. And Roy's, like
Yeah,
he's saying, he's available. He'll
yeah,
happily educate you without selling you anything, and you can
exactly.
go from there.
Yeah,
Cool.
that's not about selling, it's about educating, and I love to forward whatever information I can to help you make the right steps for you and your business and your family, of course, right?
Cool.
Would you mind sending me those emails? I'd love to send a brochure to those people.
Yeah. Yeah. Marco will take care of that after the show.
All right, yeah,
Thanks a lot,
definitely.
Roy.
And put my number there, and anybody like to call me, and hey, not a problem. I enjoy helping people out.
I appreciate you, my brother.
All right, man. Thank you for the opportunity. It's always a blessing. I'll just sit here and just listen up and finish up, man. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. So Roy's number is in there for you guys. Take a look at that and know that, we're all afraid. You don't know what you don't know. And the sense of fear that that creates for people, I think is real. It's real. So we end up with analysis paralysis and we do nothing. We do nothing. And then time goes by and time waits for no one. How many of us have an instructor or somebody we know that are broke, broke, broke? And you just go, wow, that was such a great martial arts instructor. How did they end up broke? Because all they ever did was teach. They never learned financial literacy. They never determined what is that number to retire on. They never methodically, much like growing a business, set about creating an action plan. Now, do I know if who's a good fit for you? I don't. Like I say it at the end of every show, don't listen to me. Don't listen to anybody. Figure it out for yourself. The key to empowerment is knowing what is your vision, what is your version of success, and then gathering the people, the resources, and strategizing, creating that plan. Roy might be a good fit for you. I might be a good fit for you. Both of us might be a terrible fit for you. Who makes that decision? You. That's where the empowerment comes from. Because if you make a bad choice, the only person you blame is yourself. If you don't do the real work, the only person you blame is yourself. As I say all the time, 90% of what goes wrong in my business is my fault. The other 10% that goes wrong in my business is my fault. And if you do not have a financial strategy, it's your fault. It's your fault. So, in summary, there's Roy's phone number. He put it in there. It's there for you clear as day. Again, Karth, I would do both. I would max out my Roth every year and I would max out my 401k. Both should be happening because I don't want to be, it's okay to be young and broke. It's not okay to be old and broke. It's simply not. And it's not something I advocate for. I take risks. It's about risk management for me. And I do take risk, but with great risk comes great reward. I've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in investments, but I've made millions. And so with that said, I want to invite everybody to come out and join me. It's Time Live Balance, November 11th through 14th, right here, Millbrae, California. 5 minutes from SFO. Invest in yourself. Spend 4 days with me. Dave Kovar, Terry Lee, Sam On, and Adam Lodi. We covered all the bases to really give you a well-rounded experience, learning experience that will not only help you make 2024 the best ever, but really set yourself up for life. So you make those type of decisions that don't only last for a day or a week or a month, the type of decisions that are going to impact your life, your family's life, your team's life for decades and decades and decades. And that's what I'm most proud of. Dave Kovar, he's been doing this 40, 50 years, very successful in our industry. Terry Lee, 800 students, very successful, decade after decade after decade. Sam On, 127 students, multimillionaire, decade after decade after decade. And myself, after 23 years, 2 locations, $2 million. I'm the CEO of Kids Love Life Skills. It's Time Consulting. I tell you, people, they come and they go. But I'm really advocating for you to get the type of learning that you can trust will last you for generation after generation. Go to brannonbeliso.com, look under It's Time Live, and get signed up for It's Time Live Balance now. Cool. Let's thank our sponsors. We have Tucson, Market Muscles, Kids Love Life Skills, My Studio, and LC Accounting. I love you guys. You're great people and you have great business. And I appreciate you supporting me on my vision and what I choose to do with Success Never Sleeps, the Disruptor Group, and everything. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, Marco, for holding up the back end. And thank you, Roy, for being here today. You have any questions? Reach out. I look forward to seeing everybody at It's Time Live Balance, November 11th through 14th. This is Success Never Sleeps. I am Brannon Beliso. Until we talk again, please, you go out there, live your best life.
Yeah.